going on? Julie Schatz here. Welcome to my channel where we got beats for you. We got beat tutorials, music theory tutorials, music production tutorials, covers, you name it. Today I'm working on a Jadakiss type beat because, you know, he killed it the other day. Everyone's talking about Jadakiss. I love Jadakiss beats. I know you do too. That's why you're watching this video. Before we get into it, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. It really helps me with the algorithm, and leave a comment below. And let's get right into it. So I'm in Logic and I started a session. I'm gonna start with piano. So I just have Addictive Keys here with a Studio Grand set up to start with. So I had this melody idea in my head. And I want to build a chord progression around that. Before we do that though, I do want to point out that I have set the tempo to 88 BPM. A Jadakiss type beat, we kind of want around that tempo. So as far as finding a progression, I'm going to start with C minor because we got the E flat on top. Just doing sort of parallel movement with triad. So we got a C minor triad here with the E flat, the third on top, and then B flat, because that parallel movement is really nice. I'm keeping the C in the bass. And then for that G, it's going to be the major 7 of an A flat. So I'm going C minor to A flat major. I'm adding the B flat, which would be the 9. And then the next part is, so on that E flat, I wanted to do something a little bit more different, a little bit more ambiguous in the next chord. So I'm going to a B flat, and we've got an A flat over B flat. So it's like a suspended chord with a 9, because we don't have the third of the B flat, which would be D. I wanted to end with something really lush, so I've got an F minor 9 with the 1, 3, 5 minor 7 in the left hand, then 9, 5, 1 up top. And let's record that. Just add a little flair at the end. I think I'm going to leave it unquantized so it has kind of a human feel. Copy this pattern, paste it to the next 2 bars, and maybe I'll do something different at the end here in the piano roll. Maybe ba ba ba. Shorten this a little bit. Now I'm just going to EQ this, and maybe I'll add some effects. We don't need a lot of low end here. So I'm going to make this piano progression an 8-bar loop and add some drums, and that'll kind of help me figure out what else to add to this in terms of other melodies. So I'm using Drum Machine Designer. I do have some sounds in here already that I might use. I think that kick is good. The hi-hat's also good. Not crazy about that snare. So I've got some perks here. I feel like I want to add like a rim shot, and then the snare, I just want it to be a little bit better. A lot of the sounds, like for this type of beat, it's not really going to be trap, it's going to be that hard New York sound. And usually that lends itself toward more acoustic sounding drums that knock really hard, but you know, kind of almost sound like a live drummer's playing it. So I've got Splice opened up and I just searched snare. And I think that's the snare that I want. That's one of my go-tos for this type of beat. and I can just drag it in to Drum Machine Designer, and that's that. Now for the rim shot, I might go through some of my sounds that I have saved on my computer. So I just clicked F on my keyboard, brought up all files. I'm in my folder of samples, and I'm gonna look at the rim shots. That's nice and crisp sounding. So let's make a quick pattern here. Just extend this a little bit. I did the EQ here, but I think I want to add a few other effects. Maybe let's add the go-to RC20 for some color. This is on the piano. I don't want all that noise here, but we can use this as a template. Maybe we'll have a little bit of noise, a little bit of wobble. I'm going to bring down distortion. I think I need to quantize just these notes here. Paste it over here. And maybe just a little bit of reverb. I actually really like Logic's stock plugin. One of their reverb stock plugins, Silverburb, is great. Some compression, just make it come out a little bit more and be a little bit more even. Now let's add some hats. Like that open hat too much, so I'm not going to use it. I might try to find something else for an open hat a little bit later. Maybe we'll do something on this last snare for the hi-hat. So for the hi-hats here, I added some trills here, and you can use the paintbrush for that. It's very helpful in Logic, in your piano roll, and I pitched it up in certain sections here, changed the velocity so we've got some dynamics going on that trill, so it's lower velocity when the trill starts and then it gets higher. Same thing here. And I've got some stuff pitched up, some stuff pitched down. So here's what just the hi-hats, without the bass and the hi-hats and everything else, sounds like. Now for the bass, I'm going to mess around with some 808s. I'm just going to sort of play around at first because I don't yet hear in my head what I want the bass to sound like. So I'm using Alchemy to create the bass. really simple. I have some passing tones going on in the bass that just makes things a little bit more interesting. I want to jazz this type of beat up a little bit, so the bass is helping me do that. So real simple, you know, when I go down to the F here, E flat, D, and it's just like following the scale. After E flat, D comes the C, and I go back up to the octave to the C. Before I add the kick, which we gotta add the kick and some other elements in the drums, I do want to add some strings and horns. I'm hearing, you know, I want to make this a little bit bigger. Now I do play violin, so I want to add some real strings, but for now, just to show you guys, if you don't play string instruments, there's a lot of good plugins now that have pretty good samples. I'm using Contact session strings, so I just heard this line. If I can play it right, it's basically just following the piano melody a little bit. So let's record that. So I can use that, copy it over. This might be too much, so I might take out that lower C. That works nice and simple. So the nice thing about Pro Q3 is I can kind of compare the EQ that I'm setting up between different tracks that I have Pro Q3 on. Let's add the kick. So I want to follow the bass to some degree, but leave room for the bass as well with my kick pattern. I'm going to make this grid 64 because that last two bars, or the last bar there, doesn't really work. And I'm really just using my ear, experimenting with the placement of the kick to see what sounds best. I might even do a roll at the end. So after adding the kick, I just went to the strings and the horns and cleaned up the sound a little bit in terms of I just wanted it to fit in the mix a little bit better. So for the horns, I opened up Effectrix and just added a phaser, so they're kind of like in the background a little bit more with that phaser effect. And then on the strings I added a chorus effect to just make it a little fuller and more interesting. I also went back to the piano, and instead of that RC20, felt like that didn't work there, so I added a flanger, pretty, fairly low in the mix. Just added a little grittiness, and also just it fit better in the mix with that effect. So here's what we got with that. And the last thing I did was something I do often with beats just to help me think of other ideas and experiment a little bit. I opened up an instance of Maschine, and I've got this kit here that I just went through a few different kits and wanted to see what else might sound good. I was missing that open hat that I forgot about, or well, not forgot about, but sort of wasn't thinking about yet. And this kit had an open hat that sounded pretty good, and sort of a more consistent closed hi-hat. And then this snare in here too that I liked, that I have as kind of a layer to the snare that's already in the track. So this is what it sounds like with everything together. Yeah, it's coming together. So yeah, that just added some other elements, just filled it out a little bit better. And it's sounding kind of Jadakiss-like, I almost wonder, should I go back to the bass, maybe do like an acoustic bass, make it sound a little jazzier. So, I probably want to sit on this and come back to it and see what else I want to do with it. But it's in that Jadakiss sort of flair with the piano and the strings and everything. It's like a little bit orchestral, a little jazzy, laid back a little bit, but like hype at the same time. And yeah, I hope this was helpful to you. Hope you guys enjoyed the beat. Let me know if you have any comments, questions below. Let me know what else you want to hear from me. And thanks so much for watching.